Recently, Ukrainian FPV drones were deployed by the Marlet unit of Ukraine's 31st Separate Mechanized Brigade to target a group of Russian infantry running from the fight in Novosilka, Donetsk region. What happened next was caught on camera, and it showed how drones are changing war in ways no one expected. The video released by the Marlet unit shows operators being ordered to strike two Russian soldiers. One was hiding in a building, while another stayed hidden in a basement. The first strike hit the building, killing one of the targets. The second soldier survived the blast, but was wounded. At this point, you might think he had no chance of escape, but the story took an unexpected turn. In a follow-up flight, drone operators saw that the injured soldier was waving his arms, signaling surrender. Instead of finishing him off, the FPV drone began guiding him toward Ukrainian positions. This marked one of the first times an FPV drone, usually used for destruction, was used to capture a live prisoner. And it raised a big question. Could drones become not just tools of attack, but also strange, remote-controlled negotiators on the battlefield? This wasn't the only time a strange scene played out. Earlier, the 13th Operational Brigade of the Ukrainian National Guard, also known as Katia, recorded a nearly identical incident. In that case, a Russian soldier spotted the drone, dropped his weapon, and started making surrender signals. The Katia unit used the drone to lead the soldier out of the woods until a Mavic drone arrived to escort him fully into Ukrainian hands. These events are not uncommon, but they show how even soldiers in hiding now fear the buzzing sound of drones above their heads. It also proved something else. Sometimes survival meant listening to the drone rather than running from it. But surrender is rare. More often, these drones deliver brutal results, and that leads us to the battle near Lyman, where Russian soldiers face something far worse than being captured alive. The town of Lyman sits in a strategic location near the Donetsk and Oskil rivers. Russia has been desperate to seize it because controlling Lyman would open paths for bigger offensives across the Donbass. For Ukraine, holding it is non-negotiable. That's why the 60th Mechanized Brigade has been dug in there for 2 years, turning the area into a fortress. Russian forces, unable to break through with tanks or heavy vehicles, began sending small assault troops on foot through tree lines and forests. Their hope was to sneak in under cover. But here's the problem. Drones never sleep. Ukrainian operators used FPV, thermal, and infrared drones to watch every movement. This meant that even at night, Russian soldiers trying to sneak past were visible as glowing shapes in the dark. That's when the Russians tried something desperate, almost unbelievable, and it backfired in the worst way. Imagine this. Russian infantry creeping forward, each one wrapped in a big, shiny thermal blanket that looks like a trash bag. The idea was simple. If thermal drones detect heat, then covering yourself in a reflective blanket might hide your body heat. At first, it almost made sense. Soldiers looked less visible on heat cameras. And the weird thing? Instead of blending in, they stood out like giant, cold blobs against the warm forest background. Ukrainian drones spotted them instantly. Think about it. When everything around glows with natural heat and you see strange patches of nothingness moving forward, it's even easier to target. What happened next was pure disaster for the Russians. The Russians wearing thermal blankets thought they were safe. They even joked among themselves before starting the push. But within moments, Ukrainian night vision FPV drones locked onto them. Instead of glowing bodies, the drones saw dark, shapeless forms sliding across the landscape. It looked unnatural. And that was all the proof needed. A barrage of FPVs descended on the group, explosions ripped through the line, and 14 soldiers were killed almost instantly. Their thermal blankets meant to protect them ended up making them as perfect targets. Ukrainian soldiers later joked that the funny occupiers thought anti-drone raincoats would save them. Instead, they became easier to spot. So Russia's attempt at hiding from drones not only failed, but created an even deadlier trap. But now comes the open loop. How exactly do Ukrainian drones manage to track soldiers day and night in forests, villages, and even trenches? The answer lies in thermal and infrared technology. Thermal cameras don't need daylight, they read heat. So even if a soldier hides under trees, in bushes, or in near total darkness, the warmth of their body gives them away. Infrared, on the other hand, detects invisible light signals that bounce off objects, giving sharp images even in low light settings. Together, these tools give Ukrainian drones 24/7 eyes in the sky. Imagine sitting in a trench at midnight, thinking you're safe. Suddenly, a buzzing sound grows louder, and you realize the drone already saw you before you even moved. That's the psychological edge. Soldiers can't rest because they know they're always being watched. And the amazing fact is that some Ukrainian FPVs are now fitted with night vision cameras so small that they can see in complete darkness, detecting soldiers just by their heat signatures. This means nowhere is safe, not even the cover of night. Back at Lyman after the failed trash bag experiment, Russian units tried to push again with motorcycles and small assault teams. The idea was to move fast, dodge artillery, and maybe slip through drone fire. But FPVs changed the game again. Operators from Ukraine's 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade used FPVs loaded with explosives to chase down the bikers, trucks, and infantry. Video from the battlefield shows Russian troops scrambling, hiding, even running into trenches. But the drones followed, dropping explosives with deadly accuracy. The craziest part? These FPVs cost just a few $100s each. Meanwhile, they were destroying Russian assaults worth millions in manpower, vehicles, and planning. It's David versus Goliath, but this time, David is flying. And yet every strike, every capture, every surrender opens another question. What happens when both sides deploy thousands of these drones at once? So, could these drones decide the whole war? This is the big unanswered question. Ukraine's DOT chain defense marketplace has already sped up deliveries, with some orders of drones arriving at the front in just 6 days. Over 1,000 FPVs and bomber drones worth nearly $6 million were ordered in just 2 weeks. If Ukraine can keep scaling up, frontline brigades could get drones faster than Russia can adapt. The stakes couldn't be higher. Each drone delivered faster means Ukrainian troops can hold lines like Lyman, defend villages like Novosilka, and strike Russian forces before they can regroup. But here's the twist. Russia is also learning. They're building more drones, testing new jammers, and trying more desperate tricks. Some fail, like the trash bags. Others might actually work. In the end, what does this tell us? The war has entered a new era. Soldiers are not just fighting men with guns anymore. They are fighting invisible eyes in the sky, armed with explosives, sensors, and cameras. For the first time in history, surrendering to a drone has become a real option, and being destroyed by one has become an everyday risk. The outcome is brutal but clear. Ukrainian FPV drones are rewriting the rules of war, and every failed Russian countermeasure shows just how powerful this new weapon has become. And if drones can capture, kill, and guide soldiers, what's the next step? Could AI-controlled swarms take over the battlefield completely? For now, that answer remains in the shadows, buzzing just out of sight, waiting for the next mission.